Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ryan. Good evening, Chantal. Good evening to all the viewers. Welcome here. This ain't Chlorine Callaloo. This is a forum for the Aquatic Alliance, the team that will be taking on the ASATT AGM this weekend on Saturday. Welcome, Ryan. Welcome, Chantal. It's not an interview, so you all can talk whenever you want.
Right, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good evening.
So we just waited for people to come on. So how have you all been? How are you all feeling?
You go ahead, Chantal.
Concerned.
Concerned about the future of aquatics?
Yes, very much so.
Ryan, same thing?
Yeah, I would definitely say concerned in terms of what's going to happen. What will we choose? Will we choose to go forward with that with aquatics, or are we satisfied in just leaving things the same way they are, the same way they have been, with no progress? As a matter of fact, probably regress. So yes, I'm concerned as well.
So, I mean, if persons don't know and they're now tuning in, this Saturday is the annual general meeting of the Amateur Swimming Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And this is part of the team that will be taking part in the AGM this weekend under the Aquatic Alliance. I am Jason Wickham. I'll be running for the position of president. And we have Chantal Ross Thomas, who will be running for the position of secretary. And we have Ryan Smith, who will be running for the position of second vice president. We also have on the team Sean Pouchet, who will be running as first vice president, Daniel Cozy, assistant secretary treasurer, Raymond Garcia as the treasurer, and Natasha Williams as the public relations officer. Right, so this evening, we'll be talking a bit about governance and why we see this as the main issue that really affects the association, and why it's the main issue we have been driving forward during this campaign, and addressing the constitution and addressing our policies or procedures. Before we get into that, we could just let you know why we decided that we wanted to throw our hat in the ring. I mean, as you all know, I was here on Chlorine Callaloo for part of COVID, and I met up with some of these people here who we started to talk to a bit. And at the end of the day, we all realized that, we all had a part to play in the development of aquatics, and that, that despite how we feel about certain things at certain times, we decided to channel our energies together and to put together a team of people that we know can take aquatics forward. I mean, I have been on the executive in the past as PRO and assistant secretary treasurer, and I've run for president already in 2013, but this time around, we know that leadership is the issue. And I know that we have the team of leaders here on the screen, and those who are not here as yet, that can definitely work together to take aquatics forward. I believe leadership is one of the main issues, and we'll be targeting that through the whole discussions with governance. Chantal, you have anything to add about why you're here?
Well, yes. I think for me, Trinidad has gained independence in 1962, which means it's only 59 years we've been independent. Some of our members in this association are older than our independence. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to give the country some grace in terms of making mistakes with, trying to govern the affairs of aquatics, etc. The issue that I'm having is that although mistakes are being made, the response to the mistakes are concerning. And now we are coupling that with the impact from COVID. And we are definitely at a crossroads where, like Ryan alluded to, we are going to continue to regress because we are regressing. We are regressing. We need to face those facts. We are regressing. There's no nice way to put it. So we're at the crossroads where we either continue to regress or we make the necessary changes. Now, this election is very important in terms of our aquatic history, like we say, in terms of regressing and moving forward. It also is going to be very telling of our culture, what we stand for as a people. It's not just going to be a system issue, it's going to be a people issue. So I have thrown myself into the ring because I know what it takes to get us out of this situation. I have taken my own organization from idea to award winning. I've been in the industry for the past 15 years. I can't just idly sit by and watch my sport, because I am a former swimmer, just watch my sport, just wither away when we were so prominent and we have so much talent. Our issue isn't talent, our issue isn't resources, our issue is leadership and governance. So I'm throwing my hat in the ring to help.
Probably let me deal with it one time, because you're throwing your hat back in the ring. So let me deal with that part because that's when that comes up.
Yeah, and it's also a way for me to redeem myself. The first time around, I wasn't able to fulfill the entire term because I had other obligations as well. This time I am back, and obviously I would have thought about it long and hard before coming back if I would have been able to make the commitment. So yes, if I win my position on that day, I will be staying for my entire term.
Ryan?
Well, for me, Jason, coming on your show as well, just like you did, and pull together this team, I realized the passion that was there from a lot of people on this team for swimming. I wanted to see that passion realized, and that is basically why I've decided to come back on this team now. Asked me a year ago if I would ever run for ASATT elections again. Downright no. All right, because I really didn't see it as a way that anyone wanted to progress the association. I thought that the leaders that we had, and even some of the council delegates, that they are satisfied with the way things are and accept that this is what we are about. This is ASATT, this is swimming. We just go by on a day by day and we survive somehow. We have our good times and we have our bad times, and that's it. So why I am here is that I saw that we have a team of people that are passionate to change that mentality, to change that thinking where we go when we want to spring the association into good governance. And I could work with a team like that. I've been involved with water polo, as you know, leading the redevelopment, if you could call it that, of water polo, right? By hosting the primary schools, mini polo league, the secondary schools water polo league for quite a number of years. Secondary school since 2003, primary school since 2005 annually. Of course, with COVID-19, we had to take a 2-year hiatus because we didn't have the competitions. And I've worked my tail off to bring water polo to that level by developing the grassroots, per se, all right, from primary school and secondary school. Of course, there's still a lot more to do, and I would like that to be spread through ASATT. So not just one person, one club doing that. It is the federation, the national federation, who really should be doing it. And I'm ready to, even from my club perspective, I'm ready to give up all of that on the club side and bring it into the association and give my all so that the association as a whole for all aquatic disciplines could be developed. I've been involved not only in water polo, I've been involved in swimming. I was a swimmer, manager for water polo. I've actually had in my club a little bit of artistic swimming when it was synchronized swimming then. All right, at one point in time, I did diving in university, so I'm familiar with all the disciplines. As you know, I would have also helped out in the administration for the last CCCAN championships that we had back in 2017 in terms of being the event coordinator. So I am willing to work with this association, should I get in there, to be able to carry us forward into the future. And once we get in there, I want to be able to make, along with our team, to make the changes so that even when I leave office or we leave office, the association is continuing to go forward.
Because Ryan, I would say that I would remember the day that I called you actually, because I didn't call you to ask you. I called you to ask you for ideas. And I was actually, I called him because, I mean, Brian and I, we go way back. And when he said he wanted to throw his hat in the ring, I was confused. I was happy, but I was confused. What was that what was the extra edge? Everything you talk about, and I'm bringing on Sean here too.
What it was, the extra edge was being on your show, I think, and seeing that we actually had people who were interested and not just coming up at the election time that people say, okay, well, I run in for president or whatever, or even come on the day, of course, because we know it can work like that too, right? You just come on the day and surprise, I'm running for this. Somebody nominates me and I'm running. So I saw within when I spoke with you, I said, hey, we could put things together and get a team, a strong team that would be able to carry us into this election, that really care about the association. And that is what I was getting from the Chlorine Television.
Sean Pushat, good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
All right, so this is Sean Pushat. He will be running for the position of first vice president. As I tell people, it's not an interview, right? Just happen to be talking first, right? Sean, we were just asking what was the reason, different persons, why did you get involved? Why did you put up your name for this?
Sometimes as question that is a daily thing, eh? So you ask a hard question. But we talk a lot about this in the past, and just like Ryan mentioned earlier, a year ago I kind of was deflated. I lost hope, not just because of the COVID, but because of the inaction of the present administration. And it's also not hear any voice of the rest of the swimming fraternity or the aquatic fraternity in a unified way. I mean, whether it be a silent protest or whatever, it just seemed like people were accepting of what is status quo. So I wondered whether my efforts would be, well worth it at this time. I mean, now after being in the sport, as Ryan and Chantal would have said, as former athletes, somewhat from a coaching aspect, also from an administrative aspect, I think that we are at a point where change is necessary, because we haven't changed and things have changed around us, and that has been reflected in results. All right, and for us to really make the next step, for us to get back to where we need to be as an aquatic fraternity, at least, and for the first instance, which is the easiest goal as I see it, is in the region, we really need to put things in place. I mean, too long has gone where we've just seen it happening before our eyes and nothing has been done. And it's because, I think, mainly because there hasn't been much movement in terms of the personnel within the executive over the years. You'll notice the same type of if you look at the demographic or even the club contribution and so on. So we need some independent thinkers, some different thinkers, and not have that same. You're going to get the same results if you do the same thing. So definitely that's the reason why I came in.
All right. And actually so Ryan, you're lucky number one to get kicked out. I'm going to bring in Mr. Garcia here, right? So bringing on screen is a gentleman who will be running for the position of treasurer, Mr. Raymond Garcia. Good evening, Mr. Garcia.
Good evening, Jason and the whole of Facebook.
Yes, sir. Mr. Garcia, how you end up here?
Well, when you say here on your team or in ASATT in the swimming fraternity,
Why did you decide to throw your hat in the ring on this team for the position of treasurer?
well, I like I originally came from another team. I joined Lindsay Gillett's team when I was elected as a member from another seat. And I actually, I mean, regardless of how things, I mean, everybody have relationships. And I naturally had a really good relationship with Mr. Gillett. And well, most of the members of the team, I find it was a nice gelling team. And I think that type of mixture was a good thing for the association, where you had people from different teams joining to really gel. It was a challenge at the beginning, but I mean, it ended off well, where some of the things that they wanted to accomplish were actually accomplished. But for a person like me who really I like policies, I like things to be in place. You know, I like, you know, that if you in a thing, the transition from ones, if you leave, you put things in place so that what you started will continue. And as I'm hearing from everybody is that we have been doing the same thing and nothing changing. But the only how that will continue is if you have something that will guide that process. And I think that if we work on things like constitution, if we work on things like policies and procedures to guide everything that is going on in the association. If you want a swimmer, there must be some policy guiding how we select that swimmer. If you want to select a coach to represent the country, we must have policies guiding that process. And I think some of those little things, and I will consider those things low-hanging fruits, those things that we could pick off easily, and that in itself will kind of transition what we really want to see happening with the association. One of the things, and the key here, I am a swim coach as well. You know, I coach at Eagles Aquatics International, and one of the things that I see missing is really what you see does happen in all the other sports, where you see they start off at the beginning, the stage that where you learn to swim, or you learn to play football, or you learn to play cricket. And we don't have that as a part of the association, and that is missing real big. So we need to really put things in place, and I think that's where, I mean, as Sean said, I mean, we have to put things in place to really see the organization grow and things grow. And I think with the new minds, I think with the younger minds, they know exactly, especially how everybody here from a swimming background. I am just a swim dad, and a certified coach. Again, based on my type of background, where you see I am into quality, and then the spiritual background, I really like to see things happen in a type of way, and like to kind of force people in a direction that would lead to you know, other people being satisfied and not just me. And you know, I thank God. I think that this team could really do it, and I hope that we have the confidence and we go forward knowing that we are going to be victorious on the day, and that yeah, we will be the next team representing the country as the Swimming Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And not just swimming, but the Aquatic Association. Right. We are the Aquatic Alliance.
And as you say, you were talking about the things being low-hanging fruit, right?
No.
But I want to say some big fruit, that the governance and our structure, that's a big fruit, and it's a fruit that we ignore too often.
We ignore, but it's low. Those things that we can knock off very easily, and that will shift the dynamic and put things right back in place. I mean, to me, I know that I am new to the swim community. I'm probably there 5-6 years, right? People only know me because they see my face at the door, and probably with Eagles coaching and those kind of things. But outside of that, you know, I really think that I work with the treasurer, the current treasurer, and as we all know, I am the current assistant secretary treasurer, and I think that, I mean, with our impetus, I mean, we could have a real kind of dramatic shift in the way the association is run, and it wouldn't be one that is selfish, one that you see a whole different, because looking at the team, and it's different head people from different background, where we could really gel and make this thing work well.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing I like the most, well, one of the things I like about the team, because and Sean, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember ever seeing a team that had so many athletes or ex-athletes on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the first time for a while, from my memory as well too.
Yeah, and to see that athletes, I mean, sometimes I even make the joke that sometimes Trinidad and Tobago athletes have a little PTSD about getting back into the sport. But I mean, to see the athletes, the ex-athletes stepping up and you know, and the younger coaches and the younger persons in the fraternity stepping up at this point in time is very, very refreshing for me.
Well, I could say, Jason, if you look at the other sports, they normally call on the athletes and those sort of figures when there's a crisis, and we have kind of, without saying that, we're in that situation right now. The sport is in a crisis situation, and there's need for that kind of connection. I think a lot of people are in it a lot of the times just for the period that their kids or their charges may be involved. But for us who have a passion for the aquatics and this has been our lifestyle and part of our life for as much as we can remember, I think this is where you'll get some true change, because the goal is not right in front of you. You know, it's a long-term vision that you have for where we should be.
So, Chantal, so let me get right into the governance part of it. Right, let's make a little switch here too. The governance part of it, I mean, you're the person who's really the sport and management professional, and we have been talking governance during this whole thing. And one of the things we have been talking about is the need for systems, the need for policies, the need for procedures. And a constitution for me is something that can get the direction of our association. I mean, it's not the be all and end all, but the things you put in your constitution, I mean, it's a direction for the association. So can you explain to us in layman terms what's this governance thing about and why we're talking about it so much?
Okay, so basically governance is the way you manage your system, right? It's the way you manage your limited resources, because you can have all the resources in the world, like we have a lot of facilities, we have good coaches, we have talent, etc. But we do not have sound decision making because we do not have the proper policies in place. We don't have the long-term planning, vision, that kind of thing, the succession planning. That is what governance will address. Now, you said governance is just a small piece of the puzzle, but for any policy maker, governance really is the make or break thing. So in terms of sport policy, we're going to talk sports specifically. We're talking about trying to create an environment of success. Finance is the number one thing, and policy is number two. The athlete who is talented is number 4. The coach is number 7. There are 9 pillars, right? So you see where governance is placed. And you even have an example of that. You have data showing, you know, in 2010, we were winning, you know, a certain amount of medals, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden there was a fall. There were the same coaches involved. There were the same facilities involved. Some of the same athletes involved. What was the turn of events that made us drop? And it was that decision making. So you see exactly how important decision making is. Yeah.
Yeah, and we will talk, I mean, even in our, I mean, we talk about constitution like our constitution is, I know the constitution needs to be updated, but the constitution has things in it that we used to do, like council meetings on a regular basis, swim committee meetings, treasurer's reports, minutes for meetings used to come out so you could have planned And these are things currently entrenched in our constitution right now, which do not apply, or they do not happen as regularly as it should.
Right.
So it's not like we didn't have some guidelines to operate with, right? And even with the constitution, that probably our constitution now needs a lot of updating, but
Right.
those things that you spoke about, the progress that we had, did happen even though we had the old constitution. We had elections between 2004 and 2008. We had elections every single year. And I think all that adherence to rules, the governance definitely cut. And the putting in our systems, we put in a secretariat, we put in qualification criteria meets, all those things went in, and you saw it attributed to success.
Right, because coming out of that decision making, there would be an action taking place. And because we're not even having the decision making, there are no actions taking place. So that is the issue that you're seeing happening now. And more so that COVID is in the mix, you need to have more consultation. You need to be talking more, because it's such a fluid situation that, things change so often that we have to be on top of everything. And that's not happening. There's no communication taking place. Pools are closed right now. What are people supposed to do? What is going to happen when pools do reopen? I know Sean has been talking about it. I saw someone commented, what are we going to do to get the youth back into the sport? Those kinds of things. Those are decision making. Those are decisions that need to be made, and those decisions take place at the policy level. When you start talking about running for an executive position of ASATT, we are now talking at the national level. You have left the dynamics of just being in a little pool over in South or in the East. You are now talking about the national level and the trajectory that you are going to take the country and the athletes of that country. This is not something, and this is what has always perplexed me in terms of an ASATT election, that a decision of this magnitude, somebody could just jump on the day and decide to run. Where is the decision making? So you're trying to say only when you come into office you are now going to make the decisions. When you come into office, you're supposed to already have your plan and just supposed to begin consultation with your membership and effect that plan. You're not now supposed to be planning. So to me, that is, I am perplexed by that, and I am perplexed that people vote for things like that. You're buying cat and bag. Like, you don't know what you're getting, but you're voting for it. Like that. How are we going to move forward with that kind of behavior?
And I agree, directly governance. We could just look at the election per se, and governance as it relates to the election, right? And you talk about not having a nomination.
What governance?
Not having a nomination period.
Right.
Not having somebody who's nominated sign a form before, right? As I explained to somebody, if I see anybody walking on the side of the road, as you imply, I could tell them, hey, I start having a meeting, let me go and put up somebody, let me pop a slate. You could do that too. And I think even that talk, the fact that it doesn't have that in it, it shows that we don't really have a commitment to transparency and accountability, because at the end of the day, if you are interested in a position, you're supposed to at least show the members the respect that I am interested in a position. This is what I intend to do. Do you agree with me or don't you not agree with me? It's not it. That's how I see it. And you are supposed to go to your membership. I mean, I must say the entry is. They already know their two slates already. The two slates are there. It's out in the public domain, and they're there, and they're campaigning, and they're talking to their people. They're transparent about the process. In ASATT, it's something totally different.
Yeah, and we talk about that toxic environment and lack of trust, etc. And it stems from something as simple as that, not being able to communicate and consult with people. Why is everything such a clandestine experience? I can't ask you questions on what you plan to do to benefit me, benefit, my child, etc. I'm just supposed to vote for you. That shows a lack of respect. And that is something I think that has really left swimming. Swimming was a place where, yes, we could have our rivalries when we have our national meets, etc. But there was still a level of respect You know, I could give you an example where, you know, Anil Roberts, etc., he would tell his athletes, you know, don't talk to them, etc., when a swim meet is going on. But as soon as that swim meet is done, you know, Uncle Al by the car, he might offer your parents a beer. Auntie Pat, rest in peace, you know, will offer you some roti, some kind of something. You know, there was still a camaraderie and a level of respect outside of the, you know, competitive nature. I feel at this point, it's just a lack of respect altogether. Like, I can't talk to you. I'm just supposed to do what you say. I mean, Trinidad is independent and it's a democracy. The massa day is done. So what is this massa behavior about?
And that's the thing, Chantal. I mean, I believe in power. I believe they catch me with that massa day statement.
It's like massa and his minions. I don't understand what's happening.
And the thing about it is, I believe part of the problem with that is empowering people, right? Because I think part of the thing is a lot of persons aren't confident in themselves and their abilities. And we have to really work. One of the things we have to work on is building new leaders in the fraternity, empowering them with education, because education is not something that we focus. It's not something we even talk about. And making coaches, for example, to make decisions based on swimming and based on they have their confidence in their ability that they don't have to rely on popularity or, as you say, massa to get things done.
Yeah. For me, from the outside looking in, just from that policy decision-making standpoint, this is what has weakened the entire fraternity. Meaning that, you know, and you know, I will always allude to, you know, my past days. You know, we had a relay team that would go up. You would have Danielle Timothy from Blue Dolphins, myself, Carla Jacob from Flying Fish. You would have Kerry Ann Gibbs from Piranhas, etc. And when we went to represent Team TTO, the question people used to ask was, you know, they in record-breaking mood tonight, or they just settling for goal? You know, like when you think of Trinidad and Tobago, there was always this fear. And that fear came from, even though we were individual clubs, when we came together, we were stronger than ever. Now we have a system where it is divide and conquer for my own selfish reason. So when we go to represent on national duty, we are weak. We have weak links. Before, we never used to have weak links. You know, so all of that is a policy and governance issue.
Ryan, Mr. Garcia, anything you all want to add?
No, I think Chantal said it all there. It truly is governance, and we've seen it on the decline over years. And the last part she hit on, selfishness. There's a lot of selfishness that goes on within our association. And why? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But we need to break out of that. We need to get people to build, we need to build trust. Again, and I think, as Chantal alluded to, communication is the key. We need to communicate with our members, because at the end of the day, the association is to serve the members who have the athletes. So we need to make sure that we always keep in communicate. What do they want? Forget about what we want as executives, what each club wants for selfish reasons. What do we want? What do the clubs want the association to do for all its members? Not just for me, not just for you, but for all its members. What do you think our association should be about to fulfill the needs of its members? All right. Development, for example, might be one, which will include education, as you said, Jason. So we need to talk about how we can develop, so that when we develop at the lower levels, that is going to flow into development at the elite level, so that we can be great once again in aquatics.
Mr. Garcia, you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, as we talk about that, you know, I have a soft spot for children. And the thing about it is, just with that same governance, is actually seeing the transition from them learning to swim coming into the primary school. Because I show the primary school and it because they're not under ASATT. So they would feel left out. If I am not a part of a thing, and I just come in to perform on a day, I mean, if they are part of ASATT in itself, I mean, I could only see it growing stronger and stronger and stronger and develop into people, because I saw some, when I now came in, I saw some swimmers who were they were not competitive, but they were faster than some of the competitive swimmers. And if you look at that, I mean, you have all that talent just going to waste because they're not a part of the association, where they can transition that from the school level straight into I mean, the regional level and the Olympic level. So all of them little small gaps that missing, we need to fill.
Yeah, and I won't totally talk about them being faster than them, but what I would say is that us having learned to swim under us, our body, I mean, and determining, okay, how people learn, what is the approach to freestyle, what's the different, how do we prepare athletes via learn to swim to get into the competitive environment,
Yes.
right? So, I mean, at least there's a framework in place taking you from learn to swim to competitive. If you don't want to be a competitive swimmer, there's an avenue for you to be a water polo player. There's an avenue for you to be a synchronized swimmer, or at any part you want to go do in aquatics. You must start from that developmental level as it's all.
Yeah.
Right, and as you state that, you know, marketing and getting people into the sport is one thing. Talent identification is another thing. Another part of the system that we always forget is that we have to, you know, put mechanisms in place to minimize dropout from the system. You know, all those things are governance systems. I mean, when your athletes get to the competitive level, a lot of the times we focus on just winning a medal, but there are different ways to determine success in terms of, yes, winning a medal, but also getting athletes in different events. So we've had a lot of athletes going to the Olympics, and a lot of them have been swimming the 50 freestyle. Great. You know, we've had George to the 200 IM, but, you know, let's have a lot more in the long distance events as well. Let's have somebody in breaststroke, etc. And we need to be able to send those people all at the same time, not one. You know, there's also success in terms of market share. So an example is, let's say 100 people are competing on the international stage. You know, Trinidad is sending 20 members. So just from a participation standpoint, we have 20% market share. Let's say all 20 make it into the finals. We now have 20% market share of international population watching Trinidad and Tobago. Out of that, we can now say, okay, 5 people win medals. So 5 out of the 100, we have 5% in terms of market share, in terms of the medal table, that kind of thing. Those are different ways that we measure success, right? There's a broad spectrum in terms of what is considered success in an industry. And these are things that we have to look at as well. If you want to get more funding from the government, if you want to get more corporate sponsorship, etc., and be able to show them, you know, the business side of it and give them actual figures, not rum shop talk that, yeah, we could do this and we could do that and that kind of thing. We have to move away from that and get a little more business savvy and professional, etc. Yeah? All those things are governance.
Sean?
Yeah, and the way I see it is that we don't have to reinvent anything or create anything too much. There are successful programs, there are successful countries that have consistently performed in aquatic sports, and a lot of their frameworks, a lot of their policies, a lot of their things, it may not be completely open, but once you get the right dialogue and use the office for good reason, I'm sure the information will be open and available to you. And I think that when you're talking about the success, if it is we speaking one thing and then doing another thing, you know, it's not going to happen. So it has to be a synergy between what you consider as the pillars for success at let's say the age group of 8 and under, 9 to 10. Is it making goodwill as a success? Because we see where that's leading to us in terms of performance. And if that is not the way to go, what is the way to go? How are we going to award these swimmers? And we have to have a way that is consistent with what the policy is and the framework and how you want to develop. Because what we're doing right now is not working. All right, so we are forcing or pushing athletes at that age to be national swimmers or national athletes when they don't even understand. I'm not even sure they can spell national at 8. Like they say, and they're national athletes wearing red, white, and black. And I mean, by the time you reach 15 and 16, maybe that is not so cool again as a kid, because they already do it at 8, 9, and this is where we lose their interest. All right, so maybe we should focus differently at that younger age. Let them enjoy it, but at the same time, learn the skills in a way that is not necessarily about how fast you can get up and down the pool, no matter how you do it. All right, so that we have a better chance of having athletes perform at the senior levels.
Sean, well, in order to do that, we have to get athletes in the pool too. And I want to direct this question to you, right? Because Chantal brought it up. Somebody is asking, what would this admin do differently to get the youth back in pools? And I know you have an issue with that too.
Well, I don't know if you mean with the COVID. If you're speaking specifically about the COVID.
To get athletes back in the pools.
Yeah, yes. I mean, all right. So the first thing is that you need an association representation, because this nonsense of each club and each person who are contacting the Ministry of Sport and Ministry of Health and Ministry of wherever, writing and getting permission and other people not getting it is absurd. But I mean, the first thing to do is to have an aquatic dialogue. Let us come up with a plan that makes sense for persons who are clubs or groups, because at the end of the day, it has to be viable for clubs and entities to operate. All right, so we may come up with a rule of, say, only X amount of people in the pool, and it may not be viable for people to operate that way. Not everybody is the owner of a pool, so a lot of people have to rent. So in terms of the clubs that have to rent, you have to work out something that makes sense, and we then have to represent or see how best as an association we could support them operating in these circumstances and within the guidelines, because it makes no sense we lose an entity because it is not viable, and we lose from an already small pool a number of athletes again. All right, so I think we make a justifiable case that is a unified front from the association, and we get a representation of what we can do, what we will ensure, and we put the clubs in responsibility of enforcing the measures that we put in place. And I don't know if it will have to come down to having a repercussion if it is you don't enforce or you go outside of the regulations, but that will also need to be considered as well, because you're jeopardizing the operation of all the entities when you do that. All right, so yeah, I think those are simple ways that we could get them back into the pool. The real issue for me is really how we get them back to learn to swim, because this present group here, between SCA, CXC, CSEC, and those going off to university, of the small amount of athletes we have registered right now, we're probably going to lose about a 10 to 15%, if so little. All right, so we definitely need to regroup at the bottom and get more in from that learn to swim level. So we need to make a representation of how it is we can do this in a safe and a manner that could ensure that we have some throughput into the competitive programs.
Yeah, because one of the things sorry, Raymond.
Oh no, one of the things what Sean mentioned about the models and the programs that you have outside, that we do have to reinvent the wheel, right? And that is so true, because I would attend some coach clinics and stuff, and the swimming fraternity on the whole, they share their information. Is you will get the information if you want to know the information. So it is available out there. It's just, to get in contact with the right people, and they share their information. So there we just have to get it.
I would agree. I would agree that they would share information up to a point, especially when it comes to all right. So listen, I think most of those established countries, they don't really fret too much with the age group athletes as well, right? So they will give you a lot of information because they want more age group, because more than likely they know that the market for the senior or the elite athletes is at in their home grounds anyway. So they're gonna get the best of the best. So they're looking to get as much people in to make their programs even better and do their experiments and whatever it is. They have a great system working for them. What we need to think about is how we're gonna develop that center of excellence for ourselves here. All right. So how are we gonna now progress from after we put these things in place for the competitive age group level to get athletes up to a certain level? How are we gonna now hone the skills of our coaches, have the proper systems in place for them to achieve on our world level? We have seen it done in track. All right. So we know it's very possible. All right. We've seen it done in track. We've seen some other teams. I mean, we could say cricket to an extent. We could say football to an extent have achieved on the level that with local expertise. So it's not impossible, but definitely a lot more has to be put into it, and it has to be a plan. All right,
Yeah.
You can't just wait for the next George Bovell or the Dylan Carters to come around.
Must be deliberate.
We go wait our next 20 years.
And I think to access the facilities, other than access to getting into swimming or starting back swimming now, I think the maximization of the use of the various facilities, I mean, I think that is of paramount importance.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of facilities in Trinidad and Tobago owned by the people of Trinidad and Tobago that the people of Trinidad and Tobago don't have access to. Right? And we have to see, I mean, if we want to develop swimming and aquatics as a whole, we have to get access into, there may be talent there that we never even think about exploiting. And I think we have to get into those communities, get into those facilities, and get into the Ministry of Sport and the sport company and let them know that, hey, we have a team of people that could have ideas and a framework and a plan to, not just develop additional athletes there, but also help them to make the facilities themselves more, break even. Get some income into the facilities as well. Right?
Paramount being the aquatic center. I mean,
aquatic center
that has to be better utilized. I mean, there must be ways for it to be at least, even if it's not in the green, and we're going to be in the red. At least let it be for the people. In the red for the people. People use the pool. You understand? It don't make no sense if it's not gonna be profitable. It was already there. It was, as I said, built for the people, by the people. All right. So, I mean, I think that is the number one. Not that it's not being available to some athletes, but I think that there's much more that could be done, and you need to work out the pros and the cons of the cost, the increase in the cost to run it, and the amount of access that you have to the pool, because that will augur well for the growth of all these aquatic sports.
And I want to come back because
it's an inspiring venue. So a lot of, I mean, if I remember swimming, and we swim in all kind of pools when we were young, and nothing really inspired too much about that. It's a good thing you had the camaraderie that Chantal spoke about. But I mean, when you go to the aquatic center as an adult now, I wish I was young and swimming. I wish I was in these times. It's like one of these, like when you made national teams or when you went away on club trips. That really was kind of one of the inspiring things. You go to these aquatic facilities and feel inspired and say, I want to be able to swim here. I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And this is a highlight. So let us get that same kind of impetus in the young kids now.
Anybody have anything to add, or does it for that?
Well, what I just want to say in terms of the National Aquatic Center, the location is Cuba, yet Central is probably the place where we see the least amount of aquatics taking place community-wise. All right, I know we have a lot in South, we have a lot in North Trinidad, East Trinidad, and the aquatic center is there. So definitely, it's an opportunity to get programs in place at the aquatic center so that the community that is nearby could also benefit from it. I mean, it doesn't have to remain as an elite venue. Right? It needs to be, and it may never be profitable, as Sean said, but at least you could reduce how much drain it is financially on the country, right, by putting programs in place so that we can get some kind of income coming in.
All right. So I want to touch on a little bit. Well, we had some developments during the course of the day, and it's something we have been speaking to. It was in the press a bit. where Aerios Aquatex, into governance a little bit. We're talking governance still. Aerios Aquatex withdrew from taking part in the AGM, because, as you know, we have a thing in swimming that we call ghost clubs, or we want to call them unconstitutional clubs. You are supposed to have 10 active competitive swimmers in a club in order to be considered an ordinary member. Right? An active competitive swimmer is an athlete that takes part in a national championship and 2 meets during the course. And there are several clubs that have not taken part in meets as far back as 2015, and they still remain on the books of the organization. So now we're talking about rules and putting in rules for swimmers and rules for this. And when it comes to our democratic process, rules are not being followed. And I want to applaud Franz Huggins today for putting out that piece where he said he would not be a part of the process, although, I mean, he was still considered an ordinary member. I mean, a lot of times, being as a member of an association, knowing that you're not legitimate, that's called cheating. Right? That's called cheating. And for too long, too many of us have overlooked it. All of us, well, not Chantal so much, all of us have been a part of the association. Every time elections come up, it comes up, and no leadership has had the will to put their foot down and deal with this thing that has been affecting association. And it's not only about elections. If people are not actively involved in their sport, they're not coming to meetings, they're not contributing anything financially to the association, and they still want to come and vote on it, that is unethical. Right? And we have to call it out. We have to call it out for what it is, because there's too many clubs who have to scrape up to pay that $500 every year. Then they get it 10 swimmers, that's the next $1,000, and giving $1,500 to the association every year. And there are clubs that come and pay $500 with no swimmers and come to vote and be a part of the process. It's illegal, well, not illegal, it's immoral, it's unethical, and should be rejected by every member of this association that does their part to build this association. When you have meetings, and you can't have a quorum because you have a group of people who decide that they're not part of the association. They're not here, they're just voters. And it is unacceptable. And clubs, I applaud Franz, because I'll be real, Franz is somebody I know would have supported me. But I prefer to do this with integrity and ethics. And for too long, that's what has been going on in this association. Lack of integrity, lack of ethics. People, is a friend thing, a popularity thing. And we don't want to put in rules because we don't want to follow rules. But we want to tell the swimmers the rules to follow. We want to tell swimmers, we write an email and tell swimmers, this is the rule we come out now for you. This needs to be rejected. And the clubs that continue to do this, they need to be reverted to associate members, so that we could have an association here of people with a genuine interest in the sport. And this is something that we're asking Saturday, especially, that we want the constitutional members of the association to show up to vote. Anybody to add? Or I said enough?
Okay, I'll go. I think what France did was honorable, of course. And it set the tone for other clubs if they were afraid to do it. It gave them a little boost, a little confidence to do the right thing. Now, as I said, we are at a crossroad. It's like a history. It's history making in aquatics, because we're so young as a country and so young as a sport, right? Everything we do is going towards the history books, right? And the world is watching, not the world, but the Ministry of Sport is watching, sport companies watching, people who just follow sports in general in the news, they are watching, they are looking, especially because of the poor performance this year at the Olympics. People are really scrutinizing sport and coming down really hard on sport administration. So everybody is watching to see what the culture is of the aquatics fraternity. Do you want to move forward, or do you want to continue to regress? There is no black and white. Everybody is watching to see what you do. Everybody is watching to see, as an individual club, are you ethical? Is this an environment that I want my child to be around? Is this an environment that I want to associate with as a parent? Right? So people are looking at you from an individual level. They are looking at you from an association level. So this is a very serious election. The issue that I have from a governance standpoint, when you have these ghost clubs and it comes to decision making, when we have to meet with council and we need to have quorum, we don't have quorum because it's based on a larger number of people. So when you don't have quorum and you now have to leave the decision making to the executives because there's not enough people there, to follow through with the vote, the executives are now given free rein to do whatever they want. And we have seen where that has gotten us, right? So in terms of the ghost clubs, it would be nice if they would, bow out, or become associate members, because we don't want to exclude you from the fraternity. We want you to swim or, do water polo, etc. We want you there, but do the ethical thing, do the right thing. Everybody is watching. Saturday is a big day.
And Chantal, as you said, the associate member thing too. I mean, I'm affiliated to RWB Academy, right? We are an associate member of the association. We have had national swimmers on teams. We have had national coaches on teams, right? And I'm running for election. So if you can be a part of the association still, right? Why is it the need to be on? Why do you choose to be unconstitutional? Yeah. This is a choice to be doing something wrong. And for an association and an organization that administrates over so many young people, it needs to be rejected and it needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. Ryan, I see you're itching to say something.
No, not really. But it's so true and it's so sad. Chantal said the world is watching, but Trinidad and Tobago is watching, and made me really realize that we have a lot of times people that drop out of the sport just for that very reason. They can't take what our association is doing. They cannot. They can't deal with the kind of politics per se that we have in the association because they don't want their children to be a part of that because they see sometimes the kind of selfish behavior that within our association, and that is not good because sometimes we might have example players that are very good players. They are satisfied, yes, with making their club team representing the club, and then they want to go on to be national athletes. But because sometimes there's so much selfishness involved in even just being on the national team and so on, the parents said, well, you know what, I rather not. So it in a way, it also keeps the country back from having the best athletes there available to represent the country because they just don't want to because of all the bacchanal that might be involved. All right. So instead of us coming together and doing a common good for the country, for aquatics, we're fighting with one another and not doing the best for the athletes.
Sean or Raymond, anything to add? Or?
For me, it's sad to say, but on Saturday, we have these same set of people who will be voting. I mean, and while Chantal would have called for really writing, I've been doing this thing for years and it has become a norm. And I don't think it would change just like that unless you really, I mean, as Chantal would have mentioned, to market what we intend to do and get people to buy. Once we do have that and you do have the votes, the same thing will happen again. And it's sad to say, but we're in a position that really harsh, but we are it is like that is how it is right now. I mean, I don't know what we could do to change that, but I hope that we really cross that barrier to really get rid of these people. When I say these people, the clubs that are really who don't really have the constitutional right to vote, right? I mean, we want everybody to be a part of swimming, yes,
Yeah.
but it must be true and fair, and I think governance will really take care of all of this.
Well, I would just add to say, once we request or demand transparency with respect to the constitutionality of the members or the voters, I think we could be. It is something that is not unreasonable. It seems like it's a bit of a task because I know from watching the email threads, a lot of questions have been asked about the number of valid clubs and the number of clubs that are paid to date, the number of clubs that are constitutional, etc. But we haven't gotten a response.
No,
Right? It hasn't.
and that's the
I
problem.
know, but there's the problem is if we leave it be and not ask the question again on the night, because
Well,
I mean, regardless of what, they should have the information available as to when somebody made a payment. There would be a receipt. If they want to go the route of fabricating, I would prefer to do that and just accept it and sit down and say, well, we know there's the normal things that they come in. Let us just ask the question and get an answer, whether it be the truth or not.
I'm going to say the problem is too many of our leaders are associated with clubs like this. Too many of our leaders are associated with clubs like this.
So does this mean that we can't
And
ask the question?
they don't want to do the right thing.
But does that mean we can't ask the question?
yes, we could.
No, the question has to be asked. The question has to be asked, but I'm telling you, too many people have benefited from this to get into association. Sometimes I do wonder if it have a pot of gold somewhere that I am not seeing. Because it's supposed to be about the athletes.
Well, they need a ghost club.
And this fascination with being there for, well, we have new mathematics in ASATT where 1 year is 3 years, or 1 year is 2 years, or 1 year is 5 years, right? I don't know. Huh? Sorry? No, I was on an executive. Yeah, the executive was there for more than a year. So I'm talking about myself too.
Yeah.
Right? But and the reason part of the reason I'm running for ASATT is because I want to be that change. I want to be the person to direct this process. I have no vote. My associate club has no vote, right? And I want to change this because at the end of the day, people are coming to a system that is broken. People are coming to a system that is corrupt, and call it for what it is. It's corrupt. And we continue entertaining corruption in aquatics. And the world is watching us, as Chantal said, and Trinidad and Tobago is watching us. And the region is watching us. And we like to say how Trinidad and Tobago is viewed as this lovely aquatic country. That is a lie. Trinidad and Tobago, people when Trinidad and Tobago show up to swim, people want to know which version of Trinidad and Tobago it is. If it's Trinidad and Tobago, if it's Trinidad and Tobago and the next part, because sometimes we got 3 teams in one, right? Sometimes we bad talk each other. Sometimes our performances do not relate to the kind of investment we have had in this sport. Trinidad and Tobago is not showing up in the world stage. And I said in an earlier interview at the time that if it wasn't for a few good parents and a few good athletes and clubs that put things in place, ASATT has failed at developing athletes. And we have to say it for what it is. We have failed as an association, and not just the executive members. Clubs who have come into the association and played politics with children. It is unethical, right? And we have to change our dimension, and it requires leadership that can do it, that has the will to do it. And I'm confident that we have a team here that will see this through once elected on Saturday.
And I just want to add to, what Mr. Garcia was saying about, it's very hard to change culture, right? And I agree with that, but I implore parents as well to get involved, to speak to your club representatives and make sure that they are really voting in favor of you and your child and your child's future. it is very important for the parents to get involved and not just sit idly by and think, well, the coach will handle that. No, sometimes the coach is just seeking his own interest or isn't looking that far ahead, right? So, it does affect you as a parent in terms of, yes, national selection. It affects you in terms of pool time. It affects you in terms of how much money you may need to put out. Yes, the ministry gives funding, but the ministry doesn't fully fund. So sometimes parents have to come out of pocket, but then FINA also funds. And there are certain grants that FINA get that, gives out, I should say, that we miss out on because we don't want to do the paperwork. And that is going to cost parents more money. So when parents sit back and think, this is just a coach's decision, no, it impacts your child. It impacts your pocket. You need to get involved and talk to your representative and make sure they are representing you well.
And we have to make sure too, because I brought up something in the past, and you really have to talk to your clubs, because if in 2019, I brought this up already, we collected money from 155 athletes from the 25 clubs and one associate member in Trinidad and Tobago, we need to be asking questions where my fees went, if I paid my fees. You have to start asking those questions. Our cost for our membership, what we collect for membership, can cover 10% of our administrative costs. Even worse, it doesn't represent the population of athletes as well. So something is off. And we have to start to put those things in place, make sure we capture as much income as we can. You have to ensure too that, hey, your fees are really coming forward to the association, because what our books are saying and what we've seen in the water is two different things. Right? So at this point too, I don't know if you all have anything to add, but at this point too, if there are any questions that anybody need to ask in the audience, you can always send it in the chat too. We'll try to see how much we can get through. If you're now tuning in, this is the Aquatic Alliance. We're the team that will be running on Saturday. The only team named so far that will be running Saturday for the election of the Amateur Swimming Association of Trinidad and Tobago. On screen right now, we have myself, Jason Wickham, who's running as president, Shanta Ross Thomas, secretary, Brian Smith, second vice president, and Sean Cushett, first vice president. We also have Raymond Garcia. The other two members of the slate are Natasha Williams, Santiago, and Daniel Coutier, assistant secretary treasurer. I don't know if you all had anything to add from what I said before.
Well, I kind of have a question. In terms of the
question for yourself?
Well, in terms of it, I'm not sure how it operates exactly, but you spoke about membership fees, right? Where do those currently go towards? Is it towards paying for administration? Is that what it is?
We don't have a budget, so I don't know what fees are used for.
Right, because our members play, and quite often we have members in the current situation. They ask, what do these fees go towards? So we have to pay an annual membership fee to ASATT. How am I benefiting from this? And I think that is something that we need to get out there. So people are paying money. They need to know what is their benefited. Is it that it's going to support the administration, which means, in effect, yes, it's coming back to them, all right? Because you have a proper ASATT administration, and therefore the members are benefiting from that good administration, that good governance, right? Is it that it's going towards insurance, so that athletes can be insured, so that if there's anything happens to them while competing, that they are able to seek medical attention, all right, at limited cost to them. So we need to communicate with our memberships, the swimmers, the parents, where these athletes' fees go towards, that comes back to them. What is their benefit of being a member of ASATT?
Agreed. Chantal, I know you addressed this earlier, but I know we didn't have as many followers. But somebody had asked a question. Ms. Ross, you walk away once when you were elected. What will make you stay this time?
Right. So, as I said before, walking away wasn't because I did not want to serve. I would not run if I don't want to serve. There was just a conflict of what to say. Um, I don't even know the right word to use for that. It was just poor time management. I could not fulfill both duties at the same time, so I had to kind of choose. But the reason for me running now is because I've always wanted to continue to serve. And like I said, right now we are at a crossroads. We're dealing with COVID as well on top of the crossroads. I know how to get us out of this, and I would like to help, right? If selected, I do plan to stay for my entire term. I mean, I have more respect for the people of ASATT than the current executive. I'm not going to come here and waste anybody's time. I'm not going to come here and waste my own time. So if elected, I am going to stay. Well, to fulfill my term.
And I would say one of the good problems that I had with the this executive team is that there are many places you could have put any person because of the diverse skill set that we have. And I would tell you one of the reasons that Chantal, we discussed this, that she should be the secretary, is because Chantal, the constitutionality of the association and the rules, I know that Chantal, that's one of the things she's passionate about, governance and structure. And I think at the end of the day, too, one, along with Ryan, will be pushing that constitutional process along with myself, right? And the second thing, too, Chantal is a person who is not afraid to write a letter to a ghost club. Chantal is not a person who is compromised in a position to write to a ghost club. She's independent minded. And, those parts, sometimes we overlook the little things. And we start off with 14 clubs in 2010, and now we are 25 and we can't see plenty. Chantal will be on top of those things, and that's the reason that she is in this position, because the constitution is our main problem. How we are governing our main problem, and we need to have a strong, independent secretary, independent-minded, and independent from all kind of things. Secretary in that position that could get the change that we need.
I think also I came back to run because, Jason, I bought into your vision. We have been speaking about this at length, and this is why I say it's mind-boggling to me that somebody could just show up on the day, be considered for a candidate with no plan, etc., and people vote for them. We have been speaking about this for over a year. Initially, when we spoke, you wanted me in the position of PRO. You remember that?
Yeah.
And now, secretary. So we have been talking about this at length, as well as what Ryan had said. There were other people on the team that was passionate. They were passionate about the vision of moving sport forward. Apart from just having the passion, having the skill set, it was important to have synergy. You have to be able to work with the people that are on the team. And I feel like the temperament of the team is very good. Yeah. So I was sold on that.
And well, Sean is the first vice president. I've been telling Sean to be first vice president since I don't know when. And I mean, he has a wealth of knowledge in aquatics, and plenty of people don't even know. Sean, I hear you used to be a water polo player too.
Try a thing, but I mean, I played for my school at college and stuff, but I didn't really do much in the developmental stages. So, of course, I lacked a lot of the fundamentals. I just thankfully when back in the QRC days and we had the intercal league, got some practice in there, but I never really played national level per se. But I did get the opportunity to play for my school in the States. So I have some knowledge of it. I also coached a bit when I came back with the female team a little bit. All right, so I have some knowledge of it, and I haven't done much in terms of the water polo lately. It's something that I have to refresh myself on. But other than, of course, just watching at the different championships. But for me, the main thing that I would like to address is really at the foundational level, and the scope of and what Chantal is speaking about is two things we have to look at in terms of how do we measure that success, all right, and we have to really have some clear objectives for each level, and really make a long-term development pathway for these kids, because we're doing them an injustice right now by selling these dreams at a young age, and losing. We could see the drop off at 15, 16 when you go to national championships and you look at the 15 or 17 age group. Most of the events going to finals, and they only have one heat or two heats, and you have all the kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, and then we have that drop off. So it's not something that is new. It's not something that we haven't seen continue to happen to us. So definitely we have to try something differently to get a different result. As I said, the focus will be on changing the mindset of how we look at the sport from a younger age, and I think that will really do well for us, because we take a lot of the fun of learning out of it by the pressures of winning and at the younger age. So I mean, it's okay. I'm not saying that they can't swim fast, but the focus has to be on swimming well and learning the sport. There's so much to learn. You don't grow up. I mean, we grew up walking and running and as young kids, so those sports come a little more naturally to us. And the swimming it's going to take a little more work, and we have to really put in the work.
And well, the first vice president is really, that's for education purposes, is responsible for basically, I guess, the technical direction of the sport, whichever sport. And then we also have Ryan Smith, who has a lot of experience in water polo too. But one of the things that we also put in our manifesto is that Ryan would be charged with that section of new sport development. So looking at exploring working alongside with Sean, looking at exploring the new sports, artistic swimming, diving, even learn to swim, etc. Ryan, how you see your role in that, in new sport development?
I definitely think it's possible. It will take some time to work on the newer sports with the artistic swimming, and the diving. Yes, and the diving. But we have people that have already indicated interest to me in getting involved. So just like when water polo resumed, it started off small and it's grown. All right, we can do the same thing. It's not going to happen overnight, but we need to put these structures in place. Once we have those structures in place and we have people that are committed to building those disciplines, it will happen. I have no doubt about it. That will happen once we have the correct structure in place. And get the people who are intimately involved already, let them be part of it. Now, when I go into these elections, should we become successful, we are not there for those who voted for us alone. We're not there for those who are participating as part of our slate alone. We're there for everyone. So everyone, we want you to jump on board, to come on board and help with our development, for our goals for ASATT.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing as well, Jason. I think a lot about the timing right now for me is, there was a lot to be addressed at the club level. I mean, there still is stuff to be addressed, but I thought that I didn't have the confidence at the point in time previously that I could manage the national level if I haven't really addressed the club level. So call it a pilot project, but I think that the progress that has been made at the club level has kind of pushed me to try to replicate and to also look at advancing the country level.
All right, so we're gonna start to wrap up. One of the things I want to touch on too, because we're supposed to have the Panel Masters here in 2024. Before I go there, somebody put a comment. I'm interested in the professional development of swimmer parent coaching. Is there any ideas for trust in this direction?
Yeah, definitely. I think parent education is just as important as education of coaches and education of athletes. Parents need to understand what is involved, what they're getting their children involved in. And I'm sure Chantal could add more to this. they need to understand it's a holistic development of a swimmer, which includes the coach, includes the swimmer, includes the parent. So definitely parent education should be part of what we do as well. I know it is for us in water polo, right? It should be throughout for all athletes.
Yeah, I would say,
Ryan, oh, go ahead.
Ryan said it all. I'm not gonna-
definitely. I think and this is where if you already approach it from the bottom up approach, from induction, that education is where it starts. And you start when you do your marketing and you show them what it is, where this could go. The education has to grow with the plans of where it could go. All right, so you can't stay at stage 1 in your education and expect to get a stage 5 athlete. All right, you have to grow with your athletes. You have to grow with the coaches have to grow with you. It's all a synergy.
Right, Ryan, say everything, Shanta, so she don't have to say nothing. But I'll say,
Okay, if you want me to say something, this is what I will say, right? From a sport policy perspective, I can sit in my house right now and I can tell you based on the country, how the government funds a country, the genetics of an athlete, the parent support, and the environment the child is. I can tell you if that child is going to be successful. I don't need to see the child swim one more the time. I don't need to see the coach. I don't need to see what facility in. That is a policy decision. Success can be created and it can be replicated, and that is done by policy. And if parents got more involved and understood their role in the system, because there's a role for everybody to play in this system, we would be further along.
I think we have to,
Education is needed.
I think we have to put structures into parents to get involved, because we have to know too that sometimes the information flow from clubs to parents, there's a big, I mean, honestly, if you hear the kind of things you hear outside there, you want to know what is going on. So we have to find ways to, I guess, connect directly with parents, and so we can get more of them involved in committees, etc., and educate them and breed new leaders in the fraternity. Somebody's asking about school swimming. There's no secondary school. I'm very interested in secondary school swimming. This is needed. And I think I guess we'll have to, I mean, COVID is a big problem now,
Right.
but we'll have to have that discussion with the Ministry of Education, because I know I've heard so many times about people meeting with the ministry and they form this association and that association, but it doesn't seem like that we have that connection yet with the Ministry of Education to get swimming going in all schools. Some schools can take part, some can't. Some principals make the decision not to have the schools take part. So we have one of our duties eventually will have to be to go into the Ministry of Education and see how we could get swimming in the schools on the curriculum, and that will channel to all the other sports, the water polo, the pool swimming, the open water, everything.
Apart from just liaising with the ministry, a big role to play when it comes to, parents making decisions for their children with regard to swimming and water safety, etc. Tutor plays a big role with regards to that, and they have their own PTA representatives, etc., who can also get the word out and help assist with that wherever the ministry falls short, so to speak.
You want to unionize?
Right. I'm just answering the question. There are solutions, right?
Yeah.
You just have to find the people that want to solve the problems, and we are here.
And then there's this, we're supposed to have this Pan Masters in 2024. And I am all for sports tourism. I'm all for events that will generate income, etc. But I think we have to work also on developing our masters and in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, first of all, we have to talk about, are we going to start to have masters championships? Is it the discussions we need to start to have is, are we going to continue as the Amateur Swimming Association of Trinidad and Tobago, or are we going to start having a water polo committee, a masters committee, etc.? So it could be more directed that way. But at any day, we have a masters championship coming up in 2024, right? I think we need to start to have some Masters Championships in Trinidad and Tobago between now and 2024 to attract more Masters into the sport so that we can have our best team performing in front of Trinidad and Tobago. There are many, I mean, Chantal told me she wanted to come back and swim, and Sean on a relay team. We have to put things. Okay, that was a lie. I think it's like Airtel tonight, but there are masters that want to come back out and swim. And now, first of all, the environment for swimming, many people don't like it, so that's part of the reason they don't want to come. But at the same time, too, we have to invite them in. We have to create opportunities. We have to create events if we want to do that. So if it means having a masters committee to drive that thing. We can't be having a big event here in 2024 and we haven't worked to build our masters here. So I think that is a big thing that needs to start happening in 2022, 2023, because I would like Trinidad and Tobago to show up when they had masters.
Right. I think just who's talking?
Right?
No, for me, I'm just excited about masters and having a masters event, hoping that it will spark a return of some of the swimmers that have fallen off. I mean, it gives us an opportunity to showcase the longevity of the sport. I mean, we have persons that are still swimming the open water, like Gordon Board, etc., who's in his 80s. It gets to show the public that you don't have to stop swimming at 18 or 20 when you finish university, etc. As an advocate for women and girls in sport, a lot of women tend to fall off, when they have their children and, they have to work and all these kinds of things. And they think, okay, I didn't go to the Olympics, so my swimming career is over. It gives them an opportunity now to come back and still compete at a very high level. I've done master's training in the US. And let me tell you something, that training session, oh my God, just as brutal as a teenage workout, So there is hope. I really want to see masters get revitalized. I hope this event will give it a little publicity.
I think my take on it is, Jason, is that I think that contrary to what we think, I think the masters are pretty vibrant. I think that the Learn to Swim fraction is pretty vibrant. There's so many programs running. What we need is coordination. What we need is a unified effort. That's all I need. Because if I go to any pool and you're watching masters programs, and this thing had to be something, because most pools have a master's program running, right? So
in the West.
In the West, yeah. Sorry, but I'm just saying that I think that it is they have a market fit. Yeah. It's just that it needs to be under the umbrella and not be an add-on. So if you go to our national championships and let's have an event where they jump in with the 18 and overs, it's not really masters. Yeah. All right, so definitely looking at a masters competition separate and apart, and let's see if this is something that we can make a highlight, because let's look at it. A masters swimming has a different, it attracts a different target market than age group swimming.
Right.
All right, so you're gonna get a lot of prospective sponsorship and through your colleagues, etc. So you don't necessarily need to be. And that could flow into the other fraction of the swimming and the aquatics, at the younger level and the younger age groups. But we definitely need to highlight the masters on their own. All right. Similarly, we need to have a way to really bring all these Learn to Swim programs under the ASATT umbrella and see how we could really ramp up the amount of participants that we have in clubs and in competition. All right, we can't have all these people Learn to Swim and let's leave them to go wherever and then that's it. It's not. I'm all for people being able to survive, but I think that we could do a little bit more and not just as Shanta said, the talent go to waste.
And one thing with the masters too, let's say our Gordon Board is like 80-something years old. I think the health and wellness part of it too is a big thing. A lot of time we talk about sport, handling, but the health and wellness part of swimming, I mean, there's a marketing thing for us too. Do you want to look like God at 80? Come and swim. You know?
No, what I like about
That's everybody's dreams.
masters though, apart from the what I like about masters, apart from the competitive side of it, masters know how to line. Some of y'all need to learn from the masters. Masters know how. Masters have a vibe. You know, that's something that needs to trickle down to the rest of the association. That lineman and camaraderie again. We need that life. Why everybody freeze?
I seen Chantal freezing.
Yeah, me too.
Chantal, we have to get an internet sponsor for you, girl. Yes, freezing. We hear you.
Really?
Yeah.
Y'all are freezing to me. Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah, we hear it in here.
Okay. Y'all heard what I said?
Yeah, we heard what you said. We heard what you said.
Okay.
All right. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's anything. I mean, of course, it's impossible to touch on everything in the association, but I think that's Raymond unfortunately had to leave, and I don't know if he had some connectivity issues as well. Right. So let's just wrap up. Sean, whatever you want to say, going into Saturday.
No, I just hope I'm hopeful that, you know, this COVID period has given people time to reflect and understand what needs to be done, and that shall be done on Saturday.
Ryan?
I want to say that we have a team here that's willing to work for the benefit of ASATT. We've seen over the last year and a half where we've really had nothing happen, right? It was a perfect opportunity for things to happen because we didn't have to be concentrating on trying to run down this swim meet and organize this event and so on. Nothing happened, all right? So clearly there was no will to make any change at the time. This team is committed to making that change. So on Saturday, those of you who have the power to do so, please, I urge you to vote for positive change to make our swimming association the best aquatic association and the best association in Trinidad and Tobago and the best aquatic association in the region.
Chandra?
I endorse Ryan's statement of, becoming aquatic excellence. On Saturday, we really are at a crossroads. I am empowering those that have the right to vote to be the solution, or you're going to be the actual problem. You need to understand that whatever decision you make, it affects the country, not just your club, but the country. So please choose wisely. You have candidates before you that have answered all of your questions, have produced a manifesto, have tried to be as transparent and trustworthy as possible, people with a vision. Please, I implore you to choose wisely and vote for us.
Yeah, and this is the second time I have gotten an opportunity took the opportunity to run as president at ASATT. I am saying that I am confident with the group of persons that I have. At the end of the day, I am not necessarily the brightest member of this team, but I have a team of bright people. I have a team of leaders. I have a team that I could count on, that I could close my eyes and be away for a few days, and I know that I have competent persons who I can trust that can execute duties. I don't have yes men and yes women, right? I have people who are capable, who have the intellectual capacity, they have the will, and we have the drive. And with your support, we can change aquatics. We should never be satisfied with what we're getting. We should be never satisfied with what we have got, and we should know we can do better. And if you are serious, we are at a crossroads. Everybody's saying that we are at a crossroads, right? And Saturday, is the beginning of something for aquatics, and it's your choice to choose what that beginning is. It could be the beginning of something good, or it could be a next kind of beginning, or continuation, depending on how you look at it. You need to reject this, reject mediocrity. We have been talking about putting in better systems for better performances. If you're not satisfied with how Trinidad and Tobago is performing, and you have seen consistency in the leadership, you have to change the leadership. And you have to change the leadership with professional leadership, with competent leadership. And the only competent leadership we have right now offering the self-election that has been transparent, accountable, and in your face and willing to communicate with you is this team here. Any other choice is lotto. You're taking a chance with your future. Let's go forward. Thank you very much, Chantal, Ryan, Sean, Raymond, to Daniel Cozy, Natasha Williams, who have also decided to commit to this team. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and pray for us for Saturday. Pray for us. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And if we don't do it, we'll definitely do something else. Watch out. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.